Frank O'Hara, Lunch Poems. Special anniversary edition. Was it 50 years? I don't know. A long time since he went from time to eternity. Great New York poet. The maybe not the father of colloquialism, but you know, one of the dads. And show me a poet that hasn't been influenced by him in the last 40 years. Show me one. Maybe, well, no, don't even bother. They're all there. We all know what we're talking about. Lana Turner has collapsed. I was trotting along and suddenly it started raining and snowing and you said it was hailing. But hailing hits you on the head, hard. So it was really snowing and raining and I was in such a hurry to meet you, but the traffic was acting exactly like the sky. And suddenly I see a headline, Lana Turner has collapsed. There's no snow in Hollywood. There's no rain in California. I have been to lots of parties and acted perfectly disgraceful, but I never actually collapsed. Oh, Lana Turner, we love you. Get up. Yesterday down at the canal. You say that everything is very simple and interesting. It makes me feel very wistful, like reading a great Russian novel does. I am terribly bored. Sometimes it seems like seeing a bad movie. Other days, more often, it's like having an acute disease of the kidney. God knows it has nothing to do with the heart, nothing to do with people more interesting than myself. Yak, yak. That's an amusing thought. How can anyone be more amusing than oneself? How can anyone fail to be? Can I borrow your 45? I only need one bullet, preferably silver. If you can't be interesting, at least you can be a legend. But I hate all that crap. Naphtha. Ah, Jean de Buffet. When you think of him doing his military service in the Eiffel Tower as a meteorologist in 1922, you know how wonderful the 20th century can be. And the gated Iroquois and the girders, fierce and unflinching footed, nude as they should be, slightly empty like a Sonia Delaunay. There is a parable of speed somewhere behind the Indians' eyes. They invented the century with their horses and their fragile backs, which are dark. We owe a debt to the Iroquois and to Duke Ellington for playing in the buildings when they built. We don't do much ourselves, but fucking think of the haunting metro and the one who didn't show up there while we were waiting to become part of our century, just as you can't make a hat out of steel and still wear it. Who wears hats anyway? It's our tribe's custom to beguile. How are you feeling in ancient September? I am feeling like a truck on a wet highway. How can you... You were made in the image of God, and I was not. I was made in the image of a sissy truck driver, and Jean de Buffet painting his cows, with a likeness burst in memory. Apart from love, don't say it. I am ashamed of my century for being so entertaining, but I have to smile. Frank O'Hara, Lunch Poems, the anniversary edition with all that neat stuff. John Ashbery introduction and little letters between Lawrence Ferlinghetti and Frank O'Hara. All kinds of neat stuff. Wouldn't it be funny if the finger had designed us to shit just once a week? All week long we'd get fatter and fatter, and then on Sunday morning whilst everyone in church, bloop! Khrushchev is coming on the right day. The cool graced light is pushed off the enormous glass piers by hard wind, and everything is tossing, hurrying on up the Century. Has everything but politesse, a Puerto Rican cab driver says, and 5 different girls I see look like P.D. Gimbal, with her blonde hair tossing too, as she looked when I pushed her little daughter on the swing on the lawn. It was also windy. Last night we went to a movie and came out. Ionesco is greater than Beckett, Vincent said. That's what I think. Blueberry blintzes and Khrushchev was probably being carped at in Washington. No politesse. Vincent tells me about his mother's trip to Sweden. Hans tells us about his father's life in Sweden. It sounds like Grace Hardigan's painting Sweden. So I go home to bed and names drift through my head. Purgatorio Mercado, Gerhard Schwartz and Gaspar Gonzalez. All unknown figures of the early morning as I go to work. Where does the evil of the year go when September takes New York and turns it into ozone stalagmites? Deposits of light. So I get back up, make coffee, read Francois Villon, His Life So Dark. New York seems blinding, and my tie is blowing up the street, and I wish it would blow off, though it is cold and somewhat warms my neck. As the train bears Khrushchev on to Pennsylvania Station, and the light seems to be eternal, and joy seems to be inexorable, I am foolish enough always to find it in a wind. Woo! Most of these poems are written between about 53 and 64. And while he was on lunch break from the Museum of Modern Art, wandering about and grabbing a sandwich and a coffee, I imagine. Or, a Coke and a hot dog, or, Matter of fact, we got another poem here about Frank Hara, in homage to Frank Hara, written very recently on a trip to New York by American poet Stephen Roxborough. Time for lunch. It's time for lunch, and I'm musing about Frank OHara as I walk around the village not far from his home in search of a falafel joint reputed to be the best in the city. I've walked around this block 3 or 4 times now, knowing it should be here, but today the haze is strong with me. I slept through breakfast, woke without coffee, and I'm moving slowly with a limp from twisting my ankle at 4 in the morning, trying to find my Jane Street hotel. One cabbie, handicapped by language and street knowledge, gave up. Another never heard of it. I lost my map and half my bearings zigzagging on the sidewalk as the sun was coming up. But now, after a few hours' sleep, I'm hungry and hungover, and my patience is wearing thin. But at least I'm still wearing some patience. Yet it's easy to have patience on a warm, sunny afternoon in late October. Warm enough the patio was still open at the White Horse Tavern. But if I take my lunch there, I'll never get back to work. Suddenly some kid grabs me by the arm and leads me inside a store where he washes my hands with salt from the Holy Lands, shows me how much grime he's removed, and tries to sell me a jar for $50. But I tell him I don't want to be that clean. Up and down the village streets I roam, around the blocks with my Quasimodo shuffle. I begin to note the signs on my quest for falafel perfection. Hot yoga sandwich shop, noodles Rachmaninoff, dim sum for depressive accountants, legally alienated gourmet tacos, steakhouse for recovering vegetarians, Indian buffet with faded pictures, overpriced vacuum-packed coffee franchise. What the hell would Melville think of Starbucks? Yet no sign of those beautiful, fresh, deep-fried balls of scrumptious pleasure smothered in tahini and hot sauce. But who cares? I'm stuck inside a stunning autumn day, bubble. Even the stars come out to shine. Mia Farrow looks like $1,000,000. Mariah Carey wants someone to notice her. And Jeremy Irons, bent over and unshaven, could be a homeless person on the sidewalk. A stencil appears at my feet, offering sage advice. Know thyselfie. 2 blocks later, another message from the benevolent stencil gods. Stand here to activate your superpowers. One graffiti-adorned mailbox celebrates and mourns. Lou Reed, I love you. And now I understand the whole damn town has caught fall fever, screaming love and agony and ache and passion to the trees, plugging into electric colors, one last gasp of life before Halloween. It's everywhere in the air today, flying in the sparkling sapphire sky, drifting easy in the ghostly steam of the dry cleaners, even swimming in the dust and city dirt that floats free and lands everywhere, especially on me, and the backs of workers on their lunch breaks, and old lovers who still take meals together, privately singing duets to the moon and sun, for everyone falling in love to the same song, because right here, right now, the glorious lunch, our miracle day of earthly warmth and cosmic sunshine, for the first time it seems the whole world is falling in love. Damn! 10 minutes ago I was hungover, hobbling and starving, but now limp hunger and hangover gone. All I want to do is find a table somewhere soon, sit down and witness the Perpetual symphony of Frank O'Hara's painterly poems, unwittingly acted out by everyone walking past. On a day like this, no one wants to go back to work, except me, because I'll relax in the sun with a good beer, a thick pad of scrap paper, a hotel-borrowed pen that begs me again and again, in between rounds of throat charmer gold, to coax more holy ink from its intoxicated barrel. Stephen Roxborough. It's time for lunch. That's now. Here's some stuff from the past from Frank, the glorious Frank O'Hara. Hotel Particulier. Particulier? Sorry, it's French. How exciting it is not to be at Port Ligat or learning Portuguese in Bilbao so you can go to Brazil. Eric Satie made a great mistake learning Latin. The Bris Marine wasn't written in Sanskrit, baby. I had a teacher one whole summer who never told me anything, and it was wonderful. And then there is the Bibliothèque Nationale, cuspidors, glasses, anxiety. You don't get crabs that way, and what you don't know will hurt somebody else. How clear the air is, how low the moon, how flat the sun, etc., etc. Just so you don't coin a phrase that changes can be rung on, like les neiges d'antan, and that sort of thing. Oops, roll me over. Is this the hostel where the lazy and fun-loving start up the mountain? Whoa, this is good stuff, isn't it? Frank O'Hara in heaven. Somebody better write a poem about that. Maybe it'll be me. I'm one of those kind of heaven guys, you know? Cornkind. So the rain falls, it drops all over the place, and where it finds a little rock pool, it fills up with dirt, and the corn grows. A green Betty Davis sits under it, reading a volume of William Morris. Oh, fertility, beloved of the Western world. You aren't so popular in China, though they fuck too. And do I really want a son to carry on my idiocy past the horned gates? Poor kid. A staggering load, yet it can happen casually, and he lifts a little of the load each day, as I become more and more idiotic, and grows to be a strong, strong man, and one day carries as I die my final idiocy, and the very gates into a future of his choice. But what of William Morris? What of you, million worries? What of Betty Davis in An Evening with William Morris? Or the world of Samuel Greenberg? What of Hart Crane? What of phonograph records and gin? What of? You are of me. That's what, and that's the meaning of fertility. Hard and moist and moaning. Woo. A little tea, perhaps. Almost finished that. This is Sunday morning, by the way, Sunday morning in March, and not Friday night at the village gate. I wish it was Friday night at the village gate. We could maybe have Mal Waldron and Lady Day playing away. But no, it's not. How to get there? White the October air, no snow, easy to breathe beneath the sky. Lies, lies everywhere, writhing and gasping, clutching and tangling. It is not easy to breathe. Lies building their tendrils into dim figures who disappear down corridors in West Side apartments, into childhood's proof of being wanted, not abandoned, kidnapped betrayal, starving of loneliness. Starving off loneliness. I see the fog lunge and hide in it. Where are you? Here I am on the sidewalk, under the moonlight, lamplight, thinking how precious moss is, so unique and greenly crushable, if you can find it, on the north side of the tree where the fog binds you, and then, tearing apart into soft white lies, spreads its disease through the primal night of an everlasting winter, which nevertheless has heat in tubes, west side and east side, and its intricate individual pathways of white, accompanied by the ringing of telephone bells, besides which someone sits in silence, denying their own number, never given out. Nameless like the sound of troika bells rushing past suffering in the first storm. It is snowing now, and already too late. The snow will go away, but nobody will be there. Police cordons for lying political dignitaries ringing too. The world becomes a jangle, from the index finger to the vast empty houses filled with people. Their echoes of lies and tendrils of fog trailing softly around their throats. Now the phone can be answered, nobody calling, only an echo, all can confess to be home and waiting. All is the same, and we drift into the clear sky, enthralled by our disappointments, never to be alone again, never to be loved, sailing through space. Didn't I have you once for myself? West Side? For a couple of hours? But I am not that person. How funny you are today, New York. Like Ginger Rogers in Swing Time and St. Bridget's steeple, leaning a little to the left. Here I have just jumped out of bed, full of V-days, I got tired of D-days, and blue, you there still accepts me foolish and free. All I want is a room up there and you in it, and even the traffic halts so thick is a way for people to rub up against each other. And when their surgical appliances lock, they stay together for the rest of the day. What's a day? I go by to check a slide and I say, that painting's not so blue. Where's Lana Turner? She's out eating and Garbo's backstage at the Met. Everyone's taking their coat off so they can show a rib cage to the rib watchers. And the park's full of dancers and their tights and shoes and little bags, who are often mistaken for worker-outers at the West Side Y. Why not, the Pittsburgh Pirates shout, because they won. In a sense, we're all winning. We're alive. The apartment was vacated by a gay couple who moved to the country for fun. They moved a day too soon. Even the stabbings are helping the population explosion, though in the wrong country. And all those liars have left the UN. The Seagram buildings no longer rivaled in interest. Not that we need liquor, we just like it. And the little black box is out on the sidewalk next to the delicatessen. so the old man can sit on it and drink beer and get knocked off of it by his wife later in the day while the sun is still shining. Oh God, it's wonderful to get out of bed and drink too much coffee and smoke too many cigarettes and love you so much. Woo! That is a lover of life, is it not? Ooh, lovers of life. I think he just loved himself right into eternity. And I wonder. Image of the Buddha preaching. The Buddha preaching? I always thought he just kind of sat there and smiled. Okay. I am very happy to be here at the Villa Hugel, and Prime Minister Nehru has asked me to greet the people of Essen and to tell you how powerfully affected we in India have been by Germany's philosophy, traditions and mythology, though our lucidity and our concentration on archetypes puts us in a class by ourselves. For in this world of storm and stress, 5,000 years of Indian art, just think of it. Oh, Essen! Is this a calmer region of thought, a reflection of the mind through the ages? Max Muller, primus inter pares, among Indologists, remembered by our byword, Mokshamula, I rejoice in the fact of 900 exhibits. I deeply appreciate filling the gaps, O Herr Dr. Heinrich Goetz, and the research purring onward in Pakistan and Ceylon and Afghanistan. Soapstone, terracotta Indus, terracotta Maurya, terracotta Sunga, terracotta Andhra, terracotta fragments, famous Bharhat Stupa, Kushana, Gandhra, Gupta, Hindu and Jain, Sekho, Ajanta, Villa Hugel. Anglo-German trade will prosper by Swansea Mannheim. Friendship waning now in the West Wall by virtue of 2 rolls per capita, and the flagship Berlin is joining its White Fleet on the Rhine. Though better schools and model cars are wanting, still, O Estens. Nataraja dances on the dwarf, and unlike their fathers, Germany's high school pupils love the mathematics, which is hopeful of a new delay in terror, I don't think. Poem. Instant coffee with slightly sour cream in it, and a phone call to the beyond, which doesn't seem to be coming any nearer. Ah, Daddy, I want to stay drunk many days. On the poetry of a new friend, my life held precariously in the seeing hands of others. There and my impossibilities. Is this love, now that the first love has finally died, where there were no impossibilities? Cambridge. It is still raining, and the yellow-green cotton fruit looks silly round a window giving out on winter trees, with only 3 drab leaves left. The hot plate works. It is the sole heat on earth, and instant coffee. I put on my warm corduroy pants, a heavy maroon sweater, and wrap myself in my old maroon bathtub, just like Pasternak and Marburg. They say Italy and France are colder, but I'm sure Germany's at least as cold as this. And, lacking the master's inspiration, I may freeze to death before I can get out into the white rain. I could have left the window closed last night, But that's where health comes from. His breath from the Urals, drawing me into flame like a forgotten cigarette. Burn! This is not negligible, being poetic, and not feeble, since it's sponsored by the great living Russian poet at incalculable costs. Across the street there is a house under construction, abandoned to the rain. Secretly, I shall go to work on it. A couple more from Stephen Roxborough from his book This Wonderful Perpetual Beautiful. The collector traveled through Asia from Bali to Tibet, accumulating Buddhas, cast and carved, to schlep them in backpack from town to village and village to town in search of more burdensome icons, to weigh him further down. Make each step of this material quest more arduous, a test of will between desire and the stones who whisper Sanskrit chants of non-attachment and lightness of being. Non-attachment and lightness of being. I'm into that shit, man. How to find God. Blow a dandelion, eat a sunset, look under the welcome mat, become a sky watcher, watch children play, taste a fresh strawberry, soar with eagles, dive with dolphins, die and live again. Open a door for a stranger, shine your shoes, lose a quarter in a slot machine, change a diaper, inhale the moment, walk around the block, bet the Cubs to win the series, listen to Mozart, body surf, pull a weed, count the grains of sand on a beach, meditate on emptiness, stop the bleeding, glorify peace, teach someone to overcome fear, watch Bob Bowman after his Mexico jump, cradle a tarantula in your hand, let go of the pain, let go of the pleasure, make love with every breath, smile, return a smile, give way with a long letter, practice balance fast. Close your eyes and listen. Be there for someone. Give. Look for anything. Become everything. Make love, make love, make love. All right. I like that. Well, that's Frank O'Hara and some of his influence there. There's lots more. I'd say most modern poets are influenced by him. Up the yin-yang. Hard to imagine not being influenced. Yeah. Stephen Brockwell, we've read quite a bit from him of late. Rather fond of that man and his poetry. Complete surprising fragments of improbable books. His most recent from, I don't know, Mansfield, I guess. Helium. Helium. We all know about helium, don't we? Or do we? Do we know about helium? I think we do, yeah. Oh, byproduct of the fat sun's proton-smashing furnace, you dissipate in space, stripped to the ions. You double plus positive attitude spins off all the negative iotas. Oh, hangover of the heavy metals, wafting from their nuclear decay like a libation from the pores of a serial libator. You add an octave to the voice. Go collect the surplus electrons from their orbitals. O masquerade of methane, natural gas notches the pressure upon you, pushes you underground where only a handful of Kelvin can chill you out to siphon you off, the cream of gases. O prisoner of polychromatic latex spheres, lashed to a child's wrist like a horse to a post, give a kid a lift, a hair's worth, your commerce with heavier gases. Their low rate of exchange will slowly bring him down. Oh man, that's a bring down. No, not really. Scientific language, technical language, it's a challenge to get it into a poem, and I applaud. I do applaud. Frank O'Hara. God bless you, my son, wherever you are. Gord's Poetry Show! In a time of trouble, and there always seems to be times of trouble, there is always poetry. Never lets you down. Unless you lose all your poetry books. You know, you can always go to the library. Au revoir, mes amis.